Looking in here, I don't see much. I guess it's because I'm young, gifted, and broke. We gonna talk about it. Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Millennials Anonymous podcast. It is your girl Lise here. And yes, my name is Lise and I am a millennial. So we are going to get this party started right. And we are going to talk about a lot of things today. One, about the Young, Gifted, and Broke program that BET had. We're also going to talk about the Revolt Summit that took place this weekend and that viral video that's trending. And we are going to talk a little bit about, of course, all the things that are happening, because, I got to give you your hot trending topics of the week. And then we're going to talk about the curious case of Antonio Brown and what's all going on with that. So we're going to talk about a lot of things today. But before I do that, I got to let you know, you got to tune in to Brunching with Edic and Lise this Friday and every Friday at 11 a.m. to see what we over there talking about. We are going to have Miss Ashley Grimes, the cannabis nurse, on again. So she's going to be giving us all kind of information about all kind of goodness and wholesomeness and all those things that are lovely. So we're going to be talking and having fun. And I don't know if we're going to have an extra guest, but it's a surprise. You just got to wait and see. So tune in on Millennials Anonymous podcast, 11 a.m. on Fridays and Charm City Direct TV. You can also see it on YouTube. So all that lovely we're going to talk about. But now that we've gotten that out of, and listen to Millennials Anonymous podcast on audio. So we're on pretty much every platform. All you got to do is pretty much search for Millennials Anonymous. That was like blah, 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 blah. I don't know what I was speaking. But you have to search for Millennials Anonymous online, and it is with a Z, because we cool like that. We black like that. We stack like that. So you got to find it, okay? But anyway, let's move right into it so we can talk about our hot trending topics of the week. Yeah. All right. So let's talk about the hot trending topics of the week. So we are going to get it. Let's go. So Brett Kavanaugh is back in the news after another allegation from him in college while he was in Yale has surfaced. Another one. Antonio Brown's accuser is going to be interviewing this week with the NFL. They are also implicating a couple of NFL players in this. I don't know why I'm saying a couple. It's just one. His cousin, Hollywood Brown, who is a Baltimore Raven. So they are going to be interviewing him as well, because allegedly he was there at the time of the rape. Hurricane Humberto, I don't know if I'm saying it right, forgive me, it's steering clear of Florida. Looks like this hurricane actually might miss Florida, which is a good thing. Hopefully it doesn't hit anybody else. We can use a break over there in that area of hurricanes. However, there is a tropical disturbance over there in the Gulf. They got some droughts over there in Texas, so this actually might help them with some of that rain over there. So hopefully y'all get a little rain, but not a lot of rain. You know what I mean? Felicity Huffman is getting 14 days in the can after she said, I got to get my babies in this school, honey. So she's going to jail. Kim's shapewear line sells out big in minutes, so that just made her some more money. I guess we can do it again. Another one. And Andrew Yang is actually forgiving SNL castmate Shane Gillis after he uses racial slurs about Asian Americans, specifically about Andrew Yang, and Yang saying that it's a little different in comedy, and so he forgives him. James Corden is calling out Bill Maher for saying that fat shaming is something that people should do, calling him a bully. And an Alabama school is actually taking the doors off the bathroom stalls in the boys' restroom to combat vaping in their schools. Malik Yoba is going to be losing his youth board position as calls of child abuse get louder. And oil prices actually are going to go up about $5 a barrel after a drone strike, and it kind of messed up everything. So now the oil is about to go up. So I don't know what that means for us with gas and all that type of stuff and all that. But, hopefully it don't. But that has been your hot trending topics of the week. So let's get into your topics for today. All right, so let's talk about it. Let's talk about the Revolt Summit that took place this weekend. They had a couple people on the panel. Who did they have? They had T.I., who was unequivocally there in the house. They also had Killer Mike that was there. They had Killer Mike, Candace Owens, who, if you don't know who that is, she's been on Fox News. She's like a Fox News contributor or something. I think she's mostly known for just being pro-Trump. Stephen Parget of Trap the Vote. I don't know. I think he's like a liaison or something. He does something for Trap the Vote, I think in Atlanta. You have Katrina Pearson, who was on Trump's campaign. I don't know, she was the head of Trump's campaign, but she was helped run Trump's 2016 campaign. And then of course Tamika Mallory, who is like an activist or local level activist, I guess in the Atlanta area, I believe. So it was one for the books, apparently, because you got sound bites every which way. You got two viral videos. You have one with T.I. going after Candace Owens, and the other one you have Killer Mike going after everybody. So it's a lot. And I've been watching not only just that, but I've been seeing videos of other people. There's kind of some people defending Candace Owens, and some people, agreeing with Killer Mike and T.I. and everybody else. But what I will say was, and Jeff Johnson, who he's been on BET, he's like a host and like a journalist or whatever commentator. He was there and he was supposed to be the moderator. I feel like we had the opportunity to make a really great thing happen, and I feel like the summit, this panel, which was Trap the Vote, missed the mark. I feel like it became something that was just more about kind of like arguing between the two different sides, mostly between Candace Owens and Katrina Pearson being on the same side, and then like T.I. and Tamika Mallory being on the other. And I feel like that kind of, it lost me a little bit. And then Jeff Johnson, for the most part, I feel like he sometimes coddled Candace and Katrina Pearson, and then at other times he didn't. And I felt like as a moderator, not on the panel, you are not supposed to be involved in it or emotional in any way, because you are just there to moderate, to make sure that they are being respectful to one another and they're not taking over the time. I feel like he did a horrible job at that. No knock on Jeff Johnson. I don't really know a whole lot about the work that he does, but for this particular instance, I felt like they picked the wrong host. Like, I'm sure, like, I don't know if Angela Rye was busy. I don't know, what was going on, if Common was not available. Like, I feel like there were other people that could have did it. Just me. Charlemagne. Like, they could have called Charlemagne. If not Charlemagne, Angela Yee could have did it. Like, I feel like there was somebody else that could have did it, Diddy, that would have done a better job. But that's neither here nor there. I feel like there was some really big moments. I feel like a lot of them were talking things that were somewhat true. Of course, with everything, despite whether you are pro-Trump or anti-Trump, there are a little bit of truth on both sides, but everything that people usually say has some level of their own emotion and spin on it, just like that whole panel had some spin on most of the things that they said. Especially when it came to, like, Candace Owens and her opinion I feel like her opinion, of course, about Trump and defending Trump. And then I also felt like, what's her name? Tamika Mallory, and hers about being anti-government establishment. So I feel like they had some truth, but a lot of it had some stank on it of their own feelings. I will say, and I'm sorry, I'm saying, I know. I'm sorry, y'all. My thing is, when it comes to having a productive political talk, you've got to have some structure. I felt like the questions that were asked were not structured properly. I felt like the agenda of this whole talk was not proper. I feel like it was mostly to create talking points, and that's not what a conversation of this magnitude would be. Once you have people in the room that are on both sides, and I think you should talk to people who are Republicans, Democrats, Independents, Libertarians. I think you should talk to all different people. You should have all different people in your circle. That's what elevates you. That's what makes you better. That's what makes you stronger. When you can have those conversations with people that are outside of your bubble, because that's how you wonder how racism continues to get passed down. And that's it. You stay in a bubble. It's about getting you out of that bubble. Okay. So let's get pop. Let's start popping some bubbles. So we do need to talk with other people, and that's why I think I was like, Diddy, with the shoulders. I think you had a good moment, and I felt like it missed the mark. So if you've not seen it, there were some things that was said that was like completely outrageous. One by Tamika Mallory where she said I'm not worried, don't worry about what they was doing back in the civil rights era or slavery or whatever she was saying. We gotta worry about what we doing now. And I'm like, that was one of the most ignorant things I've ever heard anybody say. But Killer Mike, he did come back on that one, which I agree that he should. So I was happy to see that. I felt like Killer Mike was probably the best person on that panel simply because he was able to moderate and kind of talk from both sides. So, although I don't agree with Killer Mike on everything, I do agree with him heavily on the economic independence that Black people need. So, I agree that Black people need to be more self-sufficient and, spend less money or giving it to other people and not supporting their own businesses. And I'm not even just talking from Black people. I mean, they have Black people that have their own ideas and afraid to go out and start a business. So those are the things that I think that I agree with Killer Mike on. I also agree that they didn't allow. So there was this point in the situation. This is where Killer Mike's viral moment came in. So Killer Mike's viral moment came in when he was trying to diffuse the situation between T.I. and Candace Owens. And I think Tamika Mallory may have jumped in as well. And he was just trying to diffuse the situation. Of saying you basically, what are your witness here is who has the best master, me or you. Now in this situation, I think if you were going to invite somebody that has a completely different viewpoint from the other people on the panel, you've got to let them finish. And this was where Jeff Johnson should have jumped in to allow her to be able to finish her statement. Whether you agreed with it or not, you've got to allow her to be able to finish the statement. I just felt like it was a lot of stuff that was said that I feel like it was more damaging than good. I think when you do stuff like this, you've got to be prepared for what you're putting out there, because once you have a platform as big as Revolt TV has and you have the star power that you have on that stage, you're going to have people that are going to watch it and you're going to have people that are going to digest it in sound bites. When you do stuff like this, you've got to make sure that you are packing as much information, factual information in there as you possibly can. And like I said, when they were talking, a lot of this stuff has some stank on it, which is basically somebody else's opinion about what they think should be true. So you're taking some fact and then you skew it. Okay, this is true, but skew it. So here's what I mean. So Candace Owens started to talk about Black people being Republicans, and she actually was saying a lot of what Killer Mike was saying. So I don't know why T.I. went after her so heavy, because she actually did say a lot of the things that Killer Mike was saying. So basically, Killer Mike was saying that Black people were better after the abolition of slavery and the Emancipation Proclamation. Black people were better then. They had their own stuff. They were self-sufficient. They stayed in their own communities. They policed their own communities. They had their own farms. They whatever. They did that, even though in a lot of cases they didn't own the land. They were sharecroppers, so they didn't actually own the land that they tilled in a lot of cases. I think for him, he's basically, again, when we get into the bubbles, because his family owned the land and his family had businesses where a lot of the other people post-slavery didn't have those same benefits. And a lot of people post-slavery struggled to make ends meet. They struggled to really be able to eat. And that is why sharecropping came to be. And that is why a lot of people ended up pretty much being slaves again after slavery ended, because they needed to be able to eat. So they were being fed scraps and treated like shit all at the same time. So that's why when he says, because to me that's a segregationist view, and I think that's dangerous. So when you don't talk about it on a whole level of what it means to actually be in a society where you are free, like he said, you free, act like it. When you have those conversations, I think that is dangerous when you don't expand on it past that 5 minutes talking point. because that's a longer conversation than that. But I digress. So in this situation, Killer Mike was talking, Candace was talking about the black people being Republicans, and Killer Mike jumped in. And he said that, black people were Republicans after, they signed the Emancipation Proclamation, because a lot of them, once they ratified the 15th Amendment, they were given, black men, women weren't given the right to vote until the 1920s. So black men were given, I think around the 1870s, they were able to register to vote, and a lot of them voted. And when they registered as Republican because they registered as the great emancipator, which was Lincoln. So the party of Lincoln was Republican. However, the party of Lincoln flipped. So in 1964, once they passed the 1964 Civil Rights Act, Lyndon B. Johnson, who was president at the time, if you didn't read your books, maybe you was absent that day. John F. Kennedy got shot in Dallas, and Lyndon B. Johnson, who was a vice president at the time, took over. He had a decision to make of whether or not he continued to pursue this very thing that probably got John F. Kennedy shot. Allegedly. I don't want to get blocked on Facebook. So, he had a choice to make, and he continued to pursue it. And so he signed it, and one of the things that they were noticed or written down that he said was that once we do this, we are going to forever lose the South. And that is exactly what happened. Once they passed the Civil Rights Act of 1964, a lot of those Southern Democrats went to the Republican Party in droves because the Republican Party was running a different campaign completely. So instead of being pro Civil Rights Act, they were not. And so that is what those Southern Democrats wanted to hear. So they flipped, and they went from Democrat to Republican, and the parties flipped. So the fact that we stopped at 1870 is like a little scary to me, that it's like, okay, we're stuck right here. And I felt like we were using a lot of 18th century logic in the 21st century. So the things that worked then would not work now, because there's a lot more of us than it was back then. So you stand in these little bubbles of populations and kind of just thinking, okay, this person was good over here and this person was good over there. But what about all the rest of the people in between? Why are we not talking about them? So I think that we had a moment to do something really impactful and really important, and I felt like it got fumbled. And the scary part to me is that this video is going viral. People don't do any research. Yes, he gave you some books to read, but how many people are going to do it? How many people are actually going to go back and read those books to see exactly what he was talking about? Very few. In the comments, I kid you not, of that same video, people were saying, yeah, they go Killer Mike. Yeah. And then at the same thing, well, what were those names of those books again? I'm like, if you can't do that basic thing to go rewind that video and stop putting that in the comments, how are we going to go to step A to B? We can't get there. This is what I mean. This, to me, if you want to have these important conversations where you're going to say you're going to go further than CNN, MSNBC, and Fox News, you've got to be able to do it in a way where you're having civilized conversations that are going to be knowledgeable. So you're giving people information so that they themselves can make a sound decision. That's all I'm saying. So I feel like we kind of missed the ship on this one. We missed the mark. But we'll try it again. I don't know. I think he do it every year. I'm going to assume he do it every year. Maybe next time, like I said, they'll have Carmen or somebody like that that's a little calmer, not so much whatever. Just saying. Next time, okay? Next time. All right, so let's get this popping, dropping, and locking. So let's talk about Antonio Brown, or the curious case of Antonio Brown. So if you've not been watching the news, or maybe you just said, I don't do football, you may not know what's going on. Or you may be hearing this Antonio Brown person, and you're like, I don't even know who that is. Like, why do people keep talking about him? Okay, so let me talk about non-football people for a minute. So Antonio Brown is a all-star grade A wide receiver. He's an amazing football player. He's an amazing athlete. He started off his career in 2010 with the Pittsburgh Steelers, and he stayed at Pittsburgh Steelers all the way up until recently when he was released and traded to the Oakland Raiders, which this is when you probably started hearing about Antonio Brown, when he caused a big hoopla about a helmet. And he said that he didn't want to wear the helmet. That is the NFL rule. He decided he wasn't going to wear the helmet. Then he caused a big uprising and argument. He called some people some names. And then he decided he was going to wear the helmet. But because he signed a contract that had a $30 million signing bonus, one of the stipulations to that is that he cannot be suspended. He got suspended, so they took the signing bonus. So he lost his $30 million. He was like, flip this, flip it. I can't be dipping and flipping, and nope. You took my money. I'm all about them Benjamins. So he said, nope, you need to release me, baby. Release me, baby. And so he went on Instagram, and they saw the video, and the Raiders was like, you know what? It's been nothing but a headache since he's got here. Let's let him go. Goodbye. Girl, bye. Get in the bus. Pull drive off. Go ahead. Go on. Get out of here. Go on. So get gone. He's gone now. And so now he got picked up very shortly afterwards with the Patriots, which if you don't watch football, the Patriots are like the bomb.com. Like they win like every year, you know. They have the pretty boy Ugg wearing quarterback who's about 57 and he still plays like he's 20. You know, they have all the players. They have like the best recruiting in the whole league. Like they just got a lot going on. You know what I mean? So over there with them, he's with them now. He got a little money and he just wanted to win a ring. However, that's not going to last very long because you probably also heard after that whole drama that there was some sexual allegations that came out. So Antonio Brown was accused by his former trainer, Brittany Taylor, that he sexually assaulted her twice in 2017 and he raped her in 2018. We wouldn't have heard about this, but we've recently found out more information that he turned down a settlement of $2 million to have this not go public. And so that's why we're hearing about it now. The Patriots didn't know about these talks. The NFL didn't know about these talks. So it kind of like blindsided both of them. And so now we're talking about Antonio Brown again, because not only did he have Miss Brittany Taylor, there's a new accuser who has come out who has said that Antonio Brown also sexually assaulted her, and she was a part of a non-profit organization. Her name, I don't believe her name has been released, so she might be filing criminal charges. I don't know, but her name has yet to be released. Allegedly, he had attended a softball tournament for like a female empowerment group, and he saw a painting. It was a painting of him. He was so impressed by the painting. It was in Pennsylvania. I think it was sometime in Pittsburgh. And that he wanted to meet the artist. He paid the artist to do some more work. He was going to pay her like $1,000 an hour or something like that. She was painting a picture of him. Next thing she turned around, these are her words, he was butt ass naked behind her with a towel covering his genitals. And then she was like, okay, he must be flirting with me, but I saw him with all these girls. I ain't about that life. I'm trying to be professional and everything. And she said she came back to finish the painting, and he did it again, where he was behind her, and he did the same thing. He was behind her in the first one. So he's got some issues, and according to people, they said that he lived this rock star lifestyle. So the chances of more women coming out against Antonio Brown is really, really high. So my issue is that a lot of people got hung up on Miss Brittany Taylor. So Miss Brittany Taylor is a former trainer of his, a personal trainer. She wasn't a trainer for the Pittsburgh Steelers. She was a personal trainer of his. She was a gymnast, a former gymnast, and she recently got married this weekend, apparently. So that's what, or allegedly, that's what people are saying. She got married this weekend. So congratulations to her. I don't know what her new last name is. I don't know if it's still Taylor or she took her husband's name, but congratulations to you. But she was a standout gymnast in her college. I think she went to Central Michigan University, and I think she might have went to Louisiana State. And so she owns a gym where she trains young gymnasts. And somehow she met up with Antonio Brown at some point. I don't know how the two actually met, but she was his trainer. And so allegedly, the first couple of times, it was things that were just kind of like inappropriate. I think he had ejaculated on her back of some kind of way, and some weird stuff took place. But Antonio Brown has since come out and said that she's just scorned and she's just hurt because they had a consensual relationship. He has since terminated that relationship. He was supposed to give her like $1 million or $1.6 million towards a gym, and he reneged on that. So now she's upset about it. And so that's why she's out. He actually released some photos of her and him, and kind of like her in the bed with him, like kind of just in boxers. And there was just like a lot going on. And so a lot of people started to jump on Brittany Taylor, who is a very young woman. Because I think Antonio Brown is only 28 or something like that. So I think she may even be younger than he is. And so this is a very young woman who is recently married herself. A lot of people jumped on her because after they saw that, they were like, okay, look, she's just out to get the money. She's greedy. She's also African American, which I think tends to make people care less. And I'm not trying to bring race into everything, but I just see a trend. Typically, when the girls and the victims are African American women, people tend to care less. And so you don't see people as like, oh my God, this is horrible. It's usually like, what did she do? What did she have on? What was she wearing? She just want the money. Like, that tends to happen all the time. And it happens at a higher rate, I think, when they're African American women, but it happens in general with victims. We saw that with the whole Brett Kavanaugh thing. People really went in on, Professor Blasey Ford. They went in on her. So it's just across the board when you're dealing with a powerful man or a rich man. But you see it more with African American women. And so even me, I had some kind of questionable doubt because she never filed a criminal case against him. It was all civil. And that's why her name came out, because had this been a criminal case, her name would not have been released. And so I don't know if what's going on as far as why she has not filed criminally, but the NFL is now investigating now, and they're going to be interviewing her this week. I don't know. I think it may even be today. They're also going to be interviewing Antonio Brown's cousin, Hollywood Brown. That's not his real name, but I'm going to call him Hollywood because that's what they call him. Hollywood Brown, who's on my team, the Baltimore Ravens, and they're going to be interviewing him because she implicated Hollywood Brown, said that Hollywood was there when the rape took place in 2018. So now there's more people that allegedly could be impacted by this whole situation. So I don't know what's going to happen for Antonio Brown. I'm almost certain that the Patriots are not as great as he is. And I hear a lot of people saying, well, he's just such a great player. Somebody's going to pick him up. He's going to play. He's going to play. He's going to play. But I think the amount of scrutiny and drama that's going on right now is enough to give people a kind of a fatigue of Antonio Brown. So now you have one accuser who's cooperating with everybody who she said she would, and she is. And now you have another one. So just like DJ Khaled said, another one. So you got another person who has come out and accused Antonio Brown of the same thing. This is something that I think you're going to see more and more people come out. I don't think this is the last of it. They said Antonio Brown is a rock star. He parties like a rock star, and you're going to continue to see him party like a rock star in his habits. And I think you're going to see more women come out. Now, we got to reserve a little bit for him. I'm not saying, like I said, these are all alleged, but for me, most of the time when I see a victim who comes out, and this is just me, you can cuss me out in the comments. I've heard people call me all kinds of things. I'm okay with that. But I'm just saying, for me, I always believe the victim first, because a lot of the times in these situations and cases, people do not believe the victim. And in more cases than not, people don't falsely accuse people of rape. That is very rare. And for somebody to come out and do that, I think it means a lot, because you will get a lot of that scrutiny, especially when you are in the public eye. People are going to scrutinize you. People are going to taunt you. People, like, she was like trending because people were looking up her social media page and IG. They wanted to know who she was and all that. And this is the same thing. And I think this is why you haven't heard the other woman's name yet, but I think the same thing is going to happen with this case. And you have to realize that these cases have just happened in like 2018, 2017. Like, these are new cases. So these can be criminally pursued in the court of law. So I think a lot of the, whether or not Antonio plays, I think, in whether or not he stays on any teams depends on whether or not these people file criminal charges. Because if they do, I know the Patriots are not going to want to deal with that. They had to deal with a lot of this criminal stuff with Aaron Hernandez. I do not foresee the Patriots, Antonio's a great asset to their running game. Not their running game, the passing game, so that they can have more weapons deep to Tom Brady and more people for him to throw to. But they win without him, so they don't need him. So I don't foresee them putting up with the headache. If this was a team that was really hurting, that really needed him, like the Steelers, they might have put up with this madness. But I don't think that the Patriots do. I think that Antonio Brown might sit. I think if more people come out, I think they're going to drop him. I really do. I think this is going to be something, because he already has the diva tactics. Now he got all this drama. They're going to be like, nah, bruh, I'm good. I'm going to swerve you, baby, because this is too much. Okay. But we're going to keep our ears and eyes open and see what happened to Antonio Brown. But it's a lot going on, and it's just a lot going on. Mm-hmm. So let's talk about Young, Black, and Broke, because I ain't that young, but I'm young enough, black enough, and broke enough. So let's talk about it. So this show is coming on, or it came on Sunday. Angela Rye was the commentator for this. I don't know if this is her baby, like she created this. I don't know, or she was just the host of it. I'm not sure. But Angela Rye is hosting this, and she has like panels of different politicians, different people who are impacted by the student loan debt crisis. One of the things you notice on this platform is I always talk about the student loan debt crisis, because I know firsthand about it. I know people have student loans. I have student loans. So it's just one of those things where it impacts me directly, so I'm gonna talk about it a lot. I didn't realize how much some people actually owed, because they talked to one young lady, and I think her average, what she owed was, or what she will owe when she's finished school, is $270,000. That is a lot of money. Now, she's going to become an attorney, but regardless, some attorneys, all attorneys ain't rich attorneys, especially if she becoming like a prosecutor or something. Like, she's not going to make that kind of money unless she becomes a defense attorney, opens up her own firm, and starts making some real money. Other than that, she may not be rolling in it. So she's going to be struggling for a while. It would be really hard for her to actually start a life and to take out a business loan in order to start that firm, because you carrying almost $300,000 in student loan debt. Like, that's a lot. And depending on the state that she's living in, that's a house. So now you've not only it's very hard for you to get a house, because your debt to income ratio is probably off. It's going to be really hard for you to start a business. So these are things and conversations I think we need to have. And one of the things that they mentioned on the show is something that I always mention here, is that this issue that for some reason, I don't know why it's so low on the polls when they poll black people about student loans, impacts African Americans at much higher rates than anyone else. And that's one of the things where you've got to start looking at how that's going to impact African Americans. What does that mean for African Americans if you can't even get an education to pull yourself up by your bootstraps in order to make sure that you're able to do what you need to do? It's just one of those things that I think that we should look into a little further. And I think that it impacts black women at an even higher rate, because black women go to school and college at higher rates than black men. Black men don't go to school quite as frequently and as often as black women. Black women are one of the biggest subsets of people who get education, especially higher education in this country. Most people get master's degrees. Most black women have master's degrees or higher. And it's because they're trying to outdo the debt. And sometimes what happens is you get the bachelor's degree, you don't make enough money, like, oh, got to go back to school, so I don't have to pay these loans. And now you got a bigger loan that you have to deal with. And so it's one of those things. And I think that some of the issues is what I talked about before, is that you have people who are still going to school to get degrees that need to go away. So now not only are you cost, this amount of school is absolutely astronomical. Now you're still giving people the keys to a car that don't start. And you're expecting your monthly payment on that vehicle with a down payment plus interest every single month, knowing that the car is never going to start. Those are the types of things that we can't have happen. And we need to look at it. And this is not just a black issue. This is just across the board. The numbers recently about how much student debt is owed, I think is 1.6 trillion or something like that. Like the numbers are growing. It's astronomical. Last year it was 1.4 trillion. So the numbers are not going down, they're going up, and people are defaulting on these loans every single day. So this is something that is an issue that we should be looking at. This is an issue that we should be definitely taking seriously, and I don't think that people quite take it serious if it's something that doesn't impact them. All the people that I know that were able to do that don't have any children at all. So if you have children, you're it's going to be a lot harder for you to get yourself out of any type of real debt in a short period of time, just period. And I'm not saying that you have to have kids, but I'm just saying that depending on where you are in life, the barriers to paying this student loan debt off is going to be higher. And then one of the things that Angela Rod mentioned on the show is that a lot of people saying, well, that's on, black people for wanting to go to school because they already have affirmative action. And what she mentioned was that affirmative action actually benefits white women more than it benefits anyone else. And I've seen, like, it was on Patriot, no, what? I can't even think of that. I think it's Patriot Act with Hassan Minaj on Netflix. I think that's the name of the show. He had a whole special about it. It was this whole Asian coalition that was built to try to make sure that they do what they can to get their kids into school, and they were suing because they felt like African American students were taking the spot for their students and kids to go to school, and that is why their kids couldn't go to school. And if you didn't put that you were black on the application, that you couldn't get in, and they were just holding these spots just so that they could have a certain amount of black people in the school. And it's like, one, 2, 3, 4, 5, we got too many black people, we had our quota, we did it. No, that's not how that works at all. And there's actually like 1.1 or 0.5% of black people in Ivy League schools. Like, we ain't taking y'all spots. Trust and believe. It ain't us. If anything, it's them rich white parents that's paying for their dumbass kids to get into the school. It's them. You need to be worrying about them, not us. Like, affirmative action ain't getting us in there over top of y'all, because you still have to qualify to get to the school. It's not that easy. If it was, these parents wouldn't have been paying millions of dollars for their kids to go to Berkeley and Yale and Harvard. Them is the people you need to be mad at. Like, the people that got them connections and their kids can't read, but they getting in, and you like, how that happened? That's what I'm talking about. You need to be mad at them. Black people ain't doing that. We don't have the money. Look, if we did, we wouldn't be in the debt that we in, for the student loans. That ain't us. That ain't us, B. You got to go back to start over. Don't pass go. Don't collect $200 for this round, because that ain't us. So I think that this is something that we do need to examine a lot higher to figure out, how do we fix it? Because I think the biggest issue is, how do we fix it in a way where it doesn't impact everyone else? Because, in some ways, for me with student loans, do I think that other people should foot my bill for my student loan that I took out of school? No. And I think that if you've already paid off your student loans, it would make you feel some kind of way if the government came in and said, hey, now we just paying off everybody's student loans, and it's just like, whatever, you paid yours, that's on you. Like, I could see why you would be upset. However, I feel like if you are struggling to pay your student loans and more people default on them, you're going to end up in some way this impacting you anyway, just like the housing bubble. So it's going to impact the economy. And just like Angela Rye said, this would behoove business owners and people, because if you have such student loan debt, you can't shop in those stores. You can't buy those houses and all of those types of things. So in housing investors and construction companies and retail, all of y'all should be advocating to make sure that something is done about these student loans. I personally think that, people keep mentioning reparations. I know Killer Mike said going to school for free is not enough, but I personally think that black people should get school for free. I think that would be cool if you got, like, you somehow a descendant of a slave. I think you should. Now, the biggest issue, I guess, is figuring out how to do that. I don't know. Don't ask me. I ain't thought that through, okay? Told you one time and I told you again. I'm not a politician. So I don't know exactly how that works out and how that would be possible, but I think that would be good. You know what I mean? If this right now is one of the biggest issues impacting African Americans, why not? Especially African American young people. Because another thing she mentions is that a lot of the African Americans that are going to school also have to be the breadwinner for the family. So while you're in school, you still got to help your family be able to maintain their bills. And then when you get out, they're looking at you to be the one that made it so you can help them. And then you don't have no money because you're helping them and you have student loans. So I think this would be a great way for the great US of A to give back, you know what I mean, to people who family could not save up that money because they didn't have the built wealth in this country, because for the longest time they couldn't build wealth. And then when they redlined, your properties and stuff didn't have the same amounts of values, so you didn't get the same amount of equity in your homes, and they charged you more on your mortgages, so you were paying more in interest than you were in actually the value of your home, so you couldn't really save any money. So that's why African Americans don't have the luxuries in a lot of cases, especially back when, to be able to build that savings to be able to send their kids to school. And everybody cannot get a scholarship. There's tons of scholarships out there, but everybody who goes to college can't get a scholarship, because in that case school would be free, and it's not. So, there's going to be people that aren't going to be able to get it. And you can have, because there's always going to be a cutoff, right? So if you have a 4.0 and the next person have a 4.0, and maybe they look at the other decimals and they got a 4.01 and you just got a 4.0, they're going to give it to the person with the 4.01. It doesn't mean that you weren't any less talented. I mean, it's not that simple and easy. So I think this is something that we need to look at. I know I would kind of threw that in there for a loop, like how you get from there to there, but that's okay. Sometimes it be like that. But that's my thing. I think this is something that we should look at more seriously. This is something that we should definitely take more seriously. And at the end of the day, this is something that's going to impact us all. So this has been another episode of Millennials Anonymous podcast. If you have questions for me, you can send me an email at lisa@lisawinnie.com, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can, or whatever. You know what I mean? But I'm not playing. I will get back to you. But we're going to have some really interesting shows coming up. Millennial Class will be coming on, I said every Wednesday, but it's actually going to be coming on once a month on I think it's the first Wednesday of the month, second Wednesday of the month, where we have a millennial or millennial like-minded party that wants to teach something. So that's going to be once a month until otherwise, and it grow and all that jazz. So we're going to have that. And of course, again, watch Brunching with E. Digga and Lise that comes on Friday. So we're going to have a really fun episode. We got a lot of good topics that we're going to be talking about now. So you need to tune in to see what we're going to be talking about. But we will be back again for Millennials Anonymous on next Tuesday. My mouth is flicked. I don't know what's going on today. But bye.